In this video, we are covering the top 10 not-for-profit small business CRMs in 2025. So let's dive right in. Hello, everyone. My name is Sam Gupta. I am principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent vendor agnostic technology advisory firm. We help our clients with digital transformation strategy, enterprise software selection, change management. On that note, let's go back to today's topic, which is the top 10 not-for-profit small business CRMs in 2025. If you have been following our content videos, then you might know that we segment this from multiple dimensions, one of which is going to be the size of the business. And a small business is our second tier. The first tier is a startup. The third one is going to be mid-market and the large or enterprise. So that's how we segment from the size perspective. Then we also have the industry classification because we know that from the industry perspective, the needs typically differ. Not-for-profit, some companies or people might argue that not-for-profit is not as challenging, but when you look at the CRM use cases, their CRM layer is far thicker. Sometimes that might extend into the operational use cases. For example, grant tracking, etc. That makes the CRM layer very complex. Sometimes the ERP systems are far leaner in the not-for-profit space, depending upon how your architecture is going to be. But that's how we segment our list. Now, how do we define a small business segment? That this is going to be companies, and this is just the rough definition. Sometimes the definition could vary depending upon the business complexity of business processes, but for the most part, when you are going to have roughly 2200 employees, you are looking at that range. We would define this as sort of the small business. In general, the processes in this particular segment are going to be siloed, and you are going to have you are probably going to be worried about the customer facing workflows more than your operational use cases. And for the most part, the needs that you are going to have are going to be related to upstream marketing. You might not have as strong a need for the downstream marketing. So the systems in the segment prioritize those needs over the other needs that I have mentioned. And then your data sets, the way the correlation is going to be among your data sets, the business objects, they are not going to be as highly correlated as you are going to find with slightly bigger system, but then your implementation budget will increase and your learning is going to be slightly steep with those systems. So that's why these systems simplify slightly, and then the different business models may have very different need, but this particular segment covers all of those business models. And again, this could be slightly generic, and if you can find slightly specific list for your micro industry, obviously you should go for that. And if you cannot find, then you don't have a choice, especially if you're looking for freer selection, then you might need to look for these generic list just to get the general idea, maybe build the long list from this analysis. So if you're going to be associations, education, healthcare, charities, religious orgs, we are capturing all of those as part of this list. Now, the criteria that we have used to compile this list is product share, acquisition strategy, especially this is going to be aligned with the needs of small businesses, smaller not-for-profits, then they generally rank higher on this particular list. Product roadmap, community win rate, ecosystem, technology, strategy. So we consider all of those factors to compile our list. So now let's look at the list. Number 10 on our list is Keela. And Keela is great for smaller not-for-profits, especially if you're going to be very limited in your budget. You prioritize integration with the external systems, and your priority is going to be fundraising, marketing, automation-centric scenarios, communication, etc. And Keela is probably going to be a great fit. Overall, in this particular segment, especially when you look for these prescriptive systems that might not be owned by private equity or they might not be larger companies, in general, in this segment, the customer service is going to be far superior, and Keela is not an exception here. overall great communication interaction. From the support perspective, it's probably cost effective, especially when you compare this with the other systems on this list, and easier to learn and implement. That is given with the majority of the prescriptive systems. Some limitations to keep in mind: mobile app, data integrity issues, that's given with the majority of the systems that are going to be slightly prescriptive in nature, very similar to Keela. Then you are going to find these issues because they are trying to prioritize ease of use. Not great for diverse not-for-profits, especially if you are going to have many different business models. Then it might not be the best fit. So that's number 10. Number 9 on our list is Donor Perfect. And again, if your priority is going to be fundraising, donor centric scenarios, then your Donor Perfect is probably going to be a great fit here. Cost, ease of use, implementation, the same factors that were relevant with Keela are probably going to be relevant with Donor Perfect as well. Some limitations to keep in mind: again, data integrity. Very similar experience as Keela. If you are going to have any sort of mass updates or batch transactions, you are going to run into issues with these platforms. Whether you talk about Keela or Donor Perfect, they are fairly similar with their approach, with their capabilities as well. And again, may not be the best for slightly more diverse not-for-profit. So that's number 9. Number 8 on our list is Classy. And Classy is slightly different compared to Keela or Donor Perfect. And the reason why it is different is because they are part of Salesforce ecosystem. Others are not necessarily part of a specific ecosystem. They have their own sort of UI standards, the way they follow that. With Classy, they are part of Salesforce ecosystem. So they are going to utilize Salesforce platform to build these capabilities. So if you are on Salesforce, then Classy could be a great fit. The strengths to keep in mind: obviously the integration, the alignment, the UI experience that you are going to get with Salesforce is a great fit for Classy. Again, especially if you are going to use Salesforce. And sometimes when you have the not-for-profit edition, even from Salesforce, they might not have as deep capabilities, as flavored and tailored capabilities as Classy. And then their support is far better as well. And that's going to be the case with the majority of these smaller systems. And donor management and tracking, they have really strong capabilities for that. Limitations to keep in mind: again, marketing automation-centric scenarios are not going to be as friendly, and that is given with the majority of the platforms that are going to be in Salesforce ecosystem. So that's going to be their slightly limitation compared to the other systems that we have reviewed. For example, if you compare and contrast this with Keela or Donor Perfect, they are probably going to be slightly superior with their marketing automation capabilities, landing pages capabilities. Classy is probably going to struggle with that. And then Classy is going to be slightly superior with the operational use cases, just because Salesforce data model is far stronger compared to the other systems. And then if you have very complex business models as part of your not-for-profit, sometimes you might struggle with that because Classy does have their flavored workflows. You can extend Salesforce for those business models, but you might not be able to extend Classy-owned IP. So that's where you might run into challenges, and that's number 8. Number 7 on our list is GlueUp. And GlueUp is very similar platform as Keela or Donor Perfect. The strengths, again, customer support, omni-channel capabilities. GlueUp has slightly better omni-channel capabilities, especially for associations. If you are going to have associations-centric business model, it's slightly modern interface. The other ones are legacy. It's newer. So that's a strength. Now, limitations to keep in mind: overall data integrity, but that I have been speaking about this issue with the majority of the platforms that are going to be in the prescriptive segment. They are going to be smaller in size. You are going to have data integrity issues. And again, when you are looking for scalability, diversity of business models, etc., this might not be the best fit. There have been some technical issues that have been reported with GlueUp, so you might want to pay close attention there. So that's number 7. Number 6 on our list is Zoho CRM. And Zoho CRM is slightly different, I would say, compared to what we have seen so far, especially on this list. Zoho CRM is slightly generalized CRM, so you are not going to find as deep, flavored, and tailored capabilities for not-for-profit. You can customize those, you can build these capabilities, you can configure, but then your budget is going to increase. You are going to require a lot more consulting support. So if you are very limited on the implementation budget, then Zoho CRM might not be the best fit. But if you're looking for slightly more scalable platform that can support slightly more diverse business processes, business transactions, then your Zoho CRM may be a better fit. Some things to keep in mind. Overall, the custom objects are very deep. Obviously, you are not looking at the enterprise systems here. We are talking about very small systems. So if you're looking for scalable layers from the business object as well as triggers, then they have a lot that a smaller segment is going to need. Sometimes that could be too much, because if you have too much, then your, again, configurability is going to be harder. Consulting budget is probably going to be far more expensive as well. And then they also have the platform capabilities where you can build many different apps as part of the platform itself. So that's a huge plus. Again, not for profit do require slightly more customizable platforms just because of the complexity of their business models, the kind of processes that they generally need. So Zoho CRM is going to be highly customizable. Again, it's not as customizable as your Microsoft or Salesforce, but for the smaller segment, this is not bad. Some limitations to keep in mind. Data model is completely separate for each app. So again, this is not designed for mid-market segment, for enterprise consolidation scenarios where you need to consolidate all of your data models as well as databases across the globe. If you have all of those requirements, then you should be looking for mid-market or enterprise segment systems. This is a very small system, so that's why they are keeping these data models as separate. Otherwise, you are going to feel as if this is some sort of ERP, and that could be very hard to use in general. So that's why they are intentionally designing these databases to be separate, but then you are going to run into communication issues, especially if you have to exchange data from one database to the next. Your security workflow is going to be decentralized as well. So those are some of the limitations. CMS might not be as robust as HubSpot. So if you're looking for HubSpot-like experience, then Zoho CRM might not be the best bet. And then you would require some consulting support compared to the other systems that we have reviewed on this list. So that's number 6. Now, number 5 on our list is Bonterra. And Bonterra is a very prescriptive system. It's going to be slightly larger than GlueUp, etc., but still it's a very prescriptive. It's not designed for diverse business model, diverse use cases or transactions. So some instance to keep in mind. Support, again, easy to implement and use. Omni-channel capabilities, especially if you're looking for text and marketing automation-centric scenarios. If you have those needs, then Bonterra is probably going to be a great fit. Some limitations, again, this is not necessarily designed for scalability or diversity. So if you have those, then Bonterra may not be the best fit. You might need to look for something like Zoho CRM in those use cases. And sometimes for the smaller not-for-profit, especially if they are not going to have very deep IT maturity, etc., if they have never used the CRM system, then they might struggle with the complex customer hierarchies that you are going to get with Bonterra. But if you're looking for slightly more advanced capabilities and that you are probably outgrowing maybe GlueUp or some of the other smaller systems such as Neon, then Bonterra could be a great fit. And they also have per transaction charges. So that's a little limitation because sometimes there may be issues with the predictability of the cost. So per transaction charges may not be the best fit for everybody. So that's number 5. Number 4 on our list is Virtuous. And Virtuous is a very comparable system as Bonterra. It's designed for smaller not-for-profits. You are going to have similar features. For example, let's say if you're looking for very flavored and tailored capabilities for not-for-profit, you are going to find inside this. But then with this, you are also going to find automation journeys. With some of the other smaller systems, you might not find as strong automation journeys capabilities because that's a slightly advanced capability. And then you are also going to have integrated payment processing. With the other smaller systems, you might need to spend a lot more with the payment processor integration. In this case, you are getting out of the box. Some limitations to keep in mind. Not great for diverse not-for-profit. Again, you are going to get slightly more prescriptive, boxed feeling approach with these systems. So that is going to be a con with any of the prescriptive systems. And then their email templates might not be as user friendly, and reporting is not going to be as intuitive. So those are some of the limitations, and that's number 4. Number 3 on our list is Neon CRM. And again, Neon CRM is very similar as your Virtuous Bonterra. They are very comparable system in general. For the most part, if you care for event-centric registration or fundraising, if you are looking for all of those capabilities, then you should definitely review Neon CRM. If you have membership management, volunteer scheduling, if you're a small not-for-profit, then you should definitely look for Neon CRM or review Neon CRM. Some limitations to keep in mind: overall reporting capabilities are not going to be as robust. For the most part, you will require a lot more consulting help to be able to build reports on these systems, and Neon CRM is probably not going to be an exception there. Customizability. Don't expect customization in this space, especially when you are going to have systems like Neon CRM. They are designed for very prescriptive workflow. They are not necessarily designed for customizability. What you are going to get with, let's say, Zoho CRM or Microsoft or Salesforce, etc. Don't expect that. Here, you are going to get the prescriptiveness, and with that, you are going to get ease of use. If you prioritize that as a feature, then Neon CRM is a great fit. And again, scalability is something that you should not be looking for if you are exploring Neon CRM. So that's number 3. Number 2 on our list is Blackboard. And Blackboard has 2 different CRM products, one for the SMB segment, other is slightly bigger for slightly more mid-market segment. So here, most likely, you are probably going to review the next system. And this is very similar to other systems. But again, the advantage with Blackboard is that they are built on Microsoft stack. So sometimes the alignment with Microsoft technologies, for example, Power Platform, if you care for that, then you are going to get with this. Now, one thing to keep in mind with Blackboard systems, these are slightly more legacy systems. They were good back in the days, but now they are struggling with the cloud migration because they have to please their existing users as well as customers as well. So you might run into those challenges with Blackboard too. Now, if you're looking for complete suite, slightly more reliable vendor, then Blackboard is probably the system that you should be including as part of your evaluation. Not-for-profit capabilities are pre-baked. It's a very flavored, tailored system, so that's a huge plus. And then again, integration with the Microsoft Power Platform is a huge plus. Some limitations to keep in mind. Again, this is not necessarily for the scalability or the diverse scenarios. If you have several different business models, your transactions are very complex, then Blackboard may not be the best fit for you. Technology may not be as advanced. They are building their cloud native version. It's not as advanced as their on-prem version that is slightly more advanced, but then it's a very different mindset. So be careful if you're looking for cloud, review only cloud capabilities. Don't look for on-prem features because there's going to be substantial lift when you are going to move from your on-prem version to your cloud version. So don't worry about on-prem capabilities unless you can live with on-prem capabilities. You are looking for that, then it's a different case. Then you can go for that version. So that's number 2. Number 1 on our list is Kindful or Bloomerang. And Kindful Bloomerang is number 1 on this list just because they have a lot more logos, a lot more proven. In general, we have seen them in several different implementations where they have been successful. Again, from the capabilities perspective, they are very similar. If you compare this with any of the other ones, for example, Virtuous or Bonterra, they are going to have slightly bigger financial company that is backing them, but then there are going to be pros and cons of that approach when you have that. So the pros are going to be that, okay, the platform is not going to be decommissioned, because they are going to have hopefully enough R&D budget to be able to support their development, etc. of the product, and product is going to evolve as the context changes, the technology changes, etc. So that is a big pro. Now, some of the cons could be that their pricing may not be as friendly, support might not be as friendly. That is given with the majority of the private equity owned systems. The other strengths to keep in mind, again, similar features, for example, easy to use, easy to implement, because this is designed for very prescriptive scenario, and it's going to be flavored for not-for-profit centric use cases. So those are some of these strengths. Limitations to keep in mind, overall data integrity. Don't ask for data integrity when you're looking for a system like Kindful Boomerang. They are not designed for that. Generally, their data is going to be far more disconnected because they are prioritizing ease of use depending upon what you care for. And again, scalability is something that you are not going to get with this. And then their pricing is very challenging as well. They have percentage fee per donation. Sometimes that might be harder to forecast. And then they like to push their own payments platform, as you are going to find with Shopify, etc. Sometimes that might be okay depending upon what rate they are providing. But at the same time, when you tightly couple yourself with a payment provider, you are going to have much bigger barrier for switch. So that could be a little con there. So that's number one. If you enjoyed this video, we publish these videos on a weekly basis, so don't forget to hit the subscribe button. You might want to review our detailed analysis that is generally published with a report that go along with these videos. So we are going to link up with this video the link, so you might want to check that. And then if you prefer audio form, this is also available on major podcasting platform. And if you're looking for a slightly comprehensive view, then you might want to look for our digital transformation report. Again, we are going to put the QR code as well as the link with this video. On that note, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one.